Yes, guys, Coach Sam here. Hope you're all doing a good start to your week. As promised, guys, I'm coming in here every Monday to do just a quick live training to help you guys, okay? Making the most of lockdown to try and service you guys as best as I possibly can. You know, this free community is here to help and inspire you guys to hopefully make some positive changes with your health, your nutrition, your lifestyle, and to, you know, instill those changes and start seeing some results. Okay, so tonight's training, guys, we're going to be talking about progressive overload and how this is important in terms of transforming, changing your physique. Okay, so you know, muscle building plays a big role in terms of transforming our body shape. You know, most people focus a lot on fat loss. And they're very obsessive about, you know, being in a calorific deficit, which is important, guys. That's understandable. You know, being in a calorific deficit is key for dropping body fat. But you know, it is proven that you can, although it's difficult to do, you can lay down muscle tissue and lose fat simultaneously. Okay, and a key principle in whether you do that. Now, this process is slow. To build muscle and lose fat at the same time, you're going to be putting on muscle very, very slowly. But it is a very slow process anyway, at the best of times. And it is, to be honest with you, my sort of preferred personal approach, because I like staying lean all year round. But a key principle in order to lay down muscle tissue is progressive overload. Now, we're going to explain this tonight. This isn't the be all and end all, because you could be following progressive overload with your training. If you don't know what that is, don't worry. We'll explain it on tonight's 15-minute training. It's about 15 minutes, guys, and then you can go and watch the Champions League if you're watching the football or whatever it is you're watching on a Monday night. Obviously, protein intake is very important when it comes to muscle building. For fat loss, it's also important, but there's a big difference between if you want to build muscle and you want to lose fat. If you want to lose fat, the most important thing is with protein intake is that you eat the same amount of protein within a 24-hour window. Okay, so if you eat, say your goal is 130 grams of protein a day, the research is quite clear. It's between 1.5 grams of protein to 2 grams of protein per kilo, 1.75 being the mid-range. But what a lot of people don't understand with protein intake is it isn't the protein that actually allows you to build muscle tissue. It's the amino acids within the protein. Okay, so if you have, for example, if the average male has 30 grams of whey protein, that normally 30 grams of protein from a scoop whey, that normally has about 24 grams of whey in 30 grams. That's going to give you a high leucine threshold. So you're going to really have a high amount of leucine, which is the amino acid that really helps trigger the building of muscle tissue. Okay, whereas if you have something like chicken, okay, you're going to need around 40 grams of protein to get that same amount of leucine that you will in 30 grams of whey protein. So not all proteins are created equal. And to get 40 grams of protein from chicken, you've got to eat around 200 grams of raw chicken. Obviously, you cook it, yeah, raw weight, 200 grams to get that same amount of this amino acid called leucine. Okay, so guys, you know, building muscle is a little bit, you know, more complex than just losing fat. Fat loss is quite easy from a protein perspective. It doesn't matter whether you eat all that protein in one meal, 2 meals, 3 meals, 4 meals, or 5 meals. Obviously, to eat it in one, you've got to have one hell of an appetite. But for muscle building, you know, you certainly are better off spreading that protein throughout the day, just to make sure that you know, we've got a leucine threshold in terms of the meals that we can. A threshold of leucine in terms of the meals in what we can absorb and use in a positive manner for the muscle building process. So whatever your goal tonight, though, whether it's fat loss or muscle building, like we said, fat loss is a bit easier than building muscle. It's a bit of a faster process as well. You need to make sure you got your protein dialed in. So if anyone's got any questions as we go, then feel free to ask, okay? And because I understand some of you get confused by this, which is absolutely fine. So just shoot away any questions and we can get them answered for you. Okay, so, you know, I'm not going to go into the nuances of fat loss and muscle building, but whenever you train in the gym, you know, one thing you should be trying to do is laying down new muscle tissue. Laying down muscle tissue is going to help increase your basal metabolic rate. It's also going to allow you to lift more weights when you actually train as well. So there's a benefit in terms of resting metabolism, because your BMI is going to be higher because you've got more muscle. Muscles are calorie burning machines. Okay, we're going to burn more muscle, burn more calories with more muscle. And then the second thing is, if you do have more muscle, then potentially you're going to be stronger, or you can have greater potential for strength, which means that, you know, rather than using the lat pull down for sets of 8 to 10, you can start doing chin-ups for sets of 8 to 10 because you're stronger now. And the benefit of doing chin-ups for 8 to 10 versus that pull down for 8 to 10 is that you're going to get a lot more of a radiant effect in terms of the benefits of chin-ups. Your core, your lats, your arms, your grip, everything's going to be challenged more. So, you know, having more strength is going to allow you to train harder, to burn more calories in the gym, as well as out of the gym in terms of the basal metabolic rate effects. But, you know, let's talk to you about progressive overload, which this talk is about. So what is progressive overload? Progressive overload basically means that whenever you revisit an exercise, revisit a workout, you try and progress on that movement, on that exercise, on whatever it is. So I've got one of my Instagram infographics, which I'm going to share with you here. Okay, so if you're not following me on Instagram, get over there. I've got my name here. You can see it at the bottom, Coach at Sam_SOSPT. So follow me on there. I do tips most days. Okay, so basically, what this shows, guys, is different ways to progress. Okay, now there's different ways you can progressively overload. My favorite way to progressively overload is with intensity. And what that means is by lifting more weight. Okay, but progressive load simply means progressing your training performance week on week by increasing either intensity, which is load, so the weight on the bar, or volume, which would come from either reps or sets, or both at the same time. Okay, this progressive overload forces your body to adapt in a positive physiological way. So it's going to send signals to the muscles that you're using to become stronger, to lay down maybe new muscle tissue, which does take time, but to lay down new muscle tissue, okay? Because there's added stress being placed upon it, okay? So, you know, let's have a look at how we can do this. Okay, in the squat on this example here, all right, you can see that I'm standardizing the tempo on all the exercises, okay? So it's important when you progressively overload that we compare apples to apples. There's no good you doing squats on a really slow tempo one week and managing, say, 60 kilos, and then the following week you disregard the tempo, just drop out the hole, use elastic energy from your knees or your tendons to lift the weight. Okay, we want to make sure the muscles are doing the work. So it's important when you're following progressive overload that we compare apples to apples. The exercise is done under the same conditions, with the same tempo, with the same foot position, the same technique as the previous week. So one way to progressively overload is to, like we said, it could be to add load. So how that could look is on the deadlift example at the bottom, you do 3 sets of 6 in week 1 with 60 kilos. So 60 kilos for 6, you take your 3 minutes rest, you do set 2, 60 kilos for 6, you take your 3 minutes rest, set 3, 60 kilos for 6, and then that's your 3 sets done. Okay, how you can progress that then. So say you deadlift on a Monday, okay? I always deadlift on a Friday, but that's a talk for a different day, why I do that. But say you deadlift the following week, you're going to do 3 sets of 6 with 65 kilos. Okay, so you've increased the weight by 5 kilos. If you manage to do 3 sets of 6 again, you can progressively overload further the following week by doing another 3 sets of 6 with 70 kilos. Okay, so that is how we add load. And intensity is a marker of load, okay? Load is associated with putting more tension on the muscle, okay? So that's how you can progressively overload the deadlift using load stroke intensity. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, really, really simple way to discuss and understand progressive overload via intensity. The next way we can do it, guys, is by maybe adding some reps. So, you know, take our deadlift again. Yeah, in week 1, you do 3 sets of 6. Okay, in week 2, you could do 3 sets of 8 with the same weight as the previous week. And then the final week or week 3, you could do 3 sets of 10. So you've kept the weight the same, but you've actually added more repetitions. All right, which is great. So, you know, time and attention is going to go up, but volume is ultimately going to go up because 10 times 6 equals 600 kilos per set, whereas 6 times 6 is only, 360 kilos, okay? So a lot less, 600 kilos in one set in week 3, 360 kilos in one set in week 1 in terms of the load that you've lifted. Okay, that's another way to look at progressive overload, guys, with adding reps. Now, what you could do as well is my least favorite way. It's not something that I use an awful lot unless I've run with a program for quite a long time. and I haven't been able to increase the weight or the reps despite my best intentions, is where you just might bolt on an extra set. So rather than doing, you might do 3 sets of 10 in week 1, 4 sets of 10 in week 2, and then 5 sets of 10 in week 3. So you add in volume. I'm not a great fan in terms of adding volume, because volume is what is really going to sap your energy reserves. It's going to deplete a lot of glycogen. A lot of residual fatigue is going to result of adding more volume. And if you ever, for me personally, if my recovery isn't good, I'll always decrease volume and deload the volume rather than the intensity. For me personally, intensity and load on the bar is a much greater driver for maintaining muscle mass and actually building muscle tissue. Okay, so that's how progressive overload works. You can add intensity, which is load. You can add reps, or you can add sets. And nothing is stopping you guys potentially adding a combination of the 2 or the 3. Beginners, I train some people and they're newbies, they get beginners gains. They might do squats in week 1 with, say, the empty bar, and they might be aching for days after it, but they come back the following week and they did 3 sets of 10 with an Olympic bar. The following week, they'll add 5 kilos and they'll go for 4 sets of 12. So they'll add 5 kilos, which is an extra 25% of weight. They'll do an extra set and they'll add 2 reps to each set, which is brilliant. It's rare for people to be able to do that though, long term. Now today I squatted. I did 6 sets of 3 in my A series. I actually put my workout up on my Instagram TV, and I finished the set on 42.5 for 3 reps. So I did 6 sets. Yeah, the final set was 42.5. So I worked up 130, 132.5, 135, 137.5, 140, 142.5. So now next week, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and finish 2.5 kilos heavier. So whereas I started on 130 today for 3, I'll go 132.5 set 1, 135, 137.5, 140, 142.5. So my final set today will be my 5th set next week, and then my 6th set will be 145 kilos, which will actually be a 3 rep personal best based on my training app, which I've been using for the last 18 months. So I'm pretty happy with that. And it should mean then I set a new 3 rep max record on my app. I've done more in the past, but probably not for the last 18 months to 2 years. Playing football makes it difficult to lift heavy weights and keep following progressive overload in season. But obviously COVID's happened. I've probably been training now for the best part of 7 or 8 months without any competitive games, and I'm getting really strong again, and I'm feeling good. I'm actually PBing. I did my second best, my fastest 5K in about 18 months as well. So I'm not just feeling strong, I'm feeling fit, which goes to show you how difficult it is for athletes in season to get strong when they've got so much competition, because we all know that fatigue is going to mask performance, guys. Okay, so I hope that is a really simple, gives you a simple understanding of progressive overload. If your shape isn't changing on a week-to-week basis or a frequent basis every couple of weeks when you're doing your in-body, if you're not laying down at least a tiny bit of lean muscle tissue month to month, just go back to this this Instagram post. It's on Instagram. You can, it was posted on April the 24th, almost a year ago now. But the relevance is better today, higher than ever. It's important that you do follow this progressive overload, and whether you're using bands at home, whether you're doing press ups, whether you're doing, whatever it is important that we do that. So, if you're doing press ups at home, guys, this is another point. Try your best to make it hard. Try and make the movement as inefficient as possible. Because if in week 1 you're doing sets of 35, then it's difficult to add load to press ups unless you want to put a rucksack on your back. Next week, you're going to have to do 36, 37, 38, 40 reps in one set. It's going to get quite monotonous. So, what I try and do is with home workouts from writing the programs for people, which I'm doing a lot of at the moment, is try and make it as hard as possible. Utilize slow tempos, put pauses in the disadvantageous positions, try and teach them technique to really make the pecs overload, whether it's creating more tension by pushing the floor together, these types of techniques. And what you'll find is you can hit fatigue in 10, 12, 15 press ups compared to 30 plus And it just makes progressive overload a little bit more enjoyable, because if you're doing sets of 50 in week 1, like, we can't increase load. The only 2 variables we have is increasing reps and increasing sets. And I don't know about you, but I would be bored shitless doing, you know, week 2, rather than doing 3 sets of 30, doing 3 sets of 40. It's like, oh my God. And the next week, 3 sets of 50. And then if you can't progress, add in another set, 4 sets of 40 is very boring. So choosing exercises that allow you to really create tension and hit fatigue in and around, anywhere between sort of, I like 6 to 15 reps. In the gym, I like sort of 2 to 12. Home workouts more 6 to 15, because it is difficult to reach fatigue in 2 reps at home without barbells and the adequate kit. But that's how progressive overload works, guys. Okay, so as promised, like every week, I'm going to pop in here, just do a little live training, just to help anyone that is struggling with building muscle, with losing body fat. And if anyone does have any questions along the way, they can feel free to ask. And every Wednesday, then, we do a bit more of a detailed training in our members group for all of our paid clients. So, this is a free group. We do a free training in here on a Monday, just giving you a little snippet of information, and an opportunity to ask any questions that you have, or we can work through any roadblocks you have. But you need to obviously be on the live and catch me when I'm doing it. It will be on a Monday between 6 and 7. Coach Greg couldn't make tonight. He's been a bit under the weather, I think. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. If no one's got any questions, I'm going to put my feet up now. I've had a busy day. My legs are killing me from that lower body workout. You can check it out on my IGTV, and it was great to get back in the gym and squat today. All right, so it's been a while using the bands at home. Burns like crazy, but it was nice to get back in the gym and actually lift some load. Okay, guys. So I hope that you've enjoyed that. If anyone's got any questions, I'll pop back in this group in the morning, and I'll answer them for anyone that couldn't make this. All right, guys. Have a nice evening, and I'll see you all soon, hopefully.